Chapter 221 discussing the sword Tao, blood essence of the ancestral magus. I can't see through your cultivation level. Why don't we fight? Jiang Yi asked with a burning gaze. Hanju shook his head and said, I'm not your match. I don't want to embarrass myself. Jiang Yi felt that it made sense. Then, let's discuss the Tao. Although I don't major in the sword Tao, your potential in the sword Tao is not bad. You can discuss the Tao with me. Damn it, how pretentious, Hanju cursed silently. If not for the fact that he couldn't kill him instantly, he would have really fought with him, Hanju said, alright. The two of them meditated on the ground and faced each other. Jiang Yi was the first to talk about his sword Tao. His sword Tao paid attention to the overbearing momentum. He used his dermic powers to suppress others and erupted with power to kill enemies. He liked to gather the power of the world and borrow the power of the heavenly Tao. Hanju listened carefully and benefited greatly. It had to be said that Jiang Yi was indeed powerful. In terms of talent, he was stronger than anyone else. Although Longhouse talent was terrifying, his comprehension seemed to be lacking. He didn't create his own Tao for the time being. Jiang Yi spoke for a total of 6 years. During this process, he was also sorting out his sword Tao. Next, it was Hanju's turn to talk about the sword Tao. His sword Tao also focused on explosive power, but it also focused on sustainability. It was more comprehensive than Jiang Yi's sword Tao. Not long after, Jiang Yi's expression turned grave. He discovered that he had underestimated Hanju's comprehension of the sword. This kid was extraordinary. Hanju also talked for exactly 6 years. Jiang Yi praised, your potential in the sword Tao is definitely top 3 in the world. Hanju smiled and said, then, you're the number 1 in the world. Jiang Yi didn't refute. Instead, he smiled confidently. Jiang Yi's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 3 stars. Hanju almost vomited blood. You're really shameless. The two of them exchanged some pleasantries before Jiang Yi left. Hanju returned to the cave abode. Master, you're finally back. You scared me. Tao Comprehension Sword hurriedly came over. This was the first time Hanju had left the cave abode for so much time. It frightened the disciples. If not for the golden crow saying that he was in the sky, they would have been in chaos. Hanju said, what are you afraid of? If I run, I'll definitely bring you along. He rubbed Tao Comprehension Sword's head and discovered that her eyes were red. It seemed that she was really worried about him. Tao Comprehension Sword curled her lips and nodded. Hanju sat on the bed and started to recall Jiang Yi's sword Tao. Another 2 years passed before he started cultivating it. Would probably take a long time for him to reach the mid-stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. He couldn't relax. He cultivated 2 hours less every day. Then in a year, he would have cultivated for 730 hours less. That lasted for 100 years. He couldn't afford to waste time. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years passed. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemy while checking his emails. Your good friend Ji Xianqian was attacked by demons. X159221. Your good friend Huang Jihao encountered a mighty figure and obtained an opportunity. Your disciple Su Qi spread bad luck. Your enemy Taoist Dan Qing perished. His essence soul entered the cycle of reincarnation. Your Tao companion Xian Qingjun has joined the Tao sect's Jie school. Your good friend Divine General was attacked by a mighty figure and was severely injured. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by the Golden Crow Divine Clan, X54. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by your good friend Di Hongya and Jiang Yi. Your good friend Sword God Emperor is severely injured. His life is hanging by a thread. Fortunately, a mighty figure saved him. The war between the Demon Court and the Heavenly Court was about to end. It wasn't as intense as before. However, the Golden Crow Divine Clan and the Divine Palace were still in a heated battle. The Sword God Emperor was truly miserable. He had been beaten up all these years. Hanju couldn't help but think of the 2 golden crows under him. It seemed that he had to nurture them. The combat strength of the divine golden crow was truly terrifying. Several months later, Hanju's curse ended, stood up and walked out of the connate cave abode. He came to the Fusong tree and looked up at the two golden crows, smiled, and said, "Do you want to learn a mystical power?" Hearing this, the two golden crows were pleasantly surprised. They landed and transformed into human forms. Ada was a young man and Xiao Er was a young girl. They looked to be 14 or 15 years old. To the golden crow race, they were still young. "Master, what mystical power are you teaching us?" Adi asked excitedly. Hanju thought for a moment and decided to teach them the somersault cloud first. However, this mystical power wasn't suitable for cultivating in the mortal world. "Let's go to the void," Hanju said in a low voice. Long Hao hurriedly said, "Master, I want to go too." The three-headed Wyrm king also stood up. "Me, too." Hanju smiled. "Then, let's go together. Let the others surpass the Mahayana realm first." He waved his right hand and disappeared with the four of them: Xu Shuren, Sun Chang'an, Zhou Mingyue, Morong Qi, Tu Linger, the Black Hell Chicken, and Dao Comprehension Sword looked at each other. "Damn it, I have to hurry up and break through," the Black Hell Chicken shouted. Zhou Mingyue and Tu Ling nodded. They decided not to go out anymore and instead focus on raising their cultivation levels. 3 years later, Hanju and the others returned. He went to visit Fairy Shishen, Chang Yuer, and Xing Hongxian and explained the Dao to them. Another half a year passed. Hanju returned to the cave abode and was about to continue cultivating when Meng Po's voice suddenly entered his ears. "Young friend, can you make a trip down?" Hanju hesitated for a moment before jumping into the netherworld. When he arrived at the Bridge of Forgetfulness, Hanju saw Mengpa still delivering soup. Mengpa sent a voice transmission. Tu Linger might be in trouble. The demon court knows of her existence. "You guys have a grudge with the demon court?" Hanju asked with a voice transmission, feeling puzzled. The demons and the magi are mortal enemies. One side won't rest until the other is dead. The demon court won't allow the Magus race to make a comeback. Next, they will think of all ways to get rid of Linger. "I have a divine weapon here. You can pass it to her. I won't mistreat you. I have 2 things here. You can choose one. One is the body tempering technique of the Magus race. You can attain the Tao through strength. The second is the blood essence of a Magus. It can temper the body. Although you can't obtain the Magus bloodline, it can allow you to obtain the physique of a Grand Magus. Choose." Meng Po's words stunned Hanju. This was quite a move. Hanju thought for a moment body cultivation techniques would delay his cultivation. Dual cultivation in body and energy was too tiring. The blood essence of a Magus was fine, but would it be troublesome? Mengpa wasn't in a hurry. She waited for Hanju to make his choice. "Attain the Tao through strength, but what Tao is it?" he asked with a voice transmission. Mengpa said, "Actually, the 2 paths lead to the same goal. The body tempering technique can at most allow you to reach the ancestral Magus realm. The blood essence of the ancestral Magus can directly increase your cultivation. The Grand Magi are all created by the blood essence of the ancestral Magus, and they later created the Magus race." Hanju thought for a moment and said, "Then, I want the ancestral Magus blood essence." No matter which one he chose, he would be affected by karma. Hanju wasn't afraid. Since he had already hooked up with the heavenly court, so what if there was another Magus race? The reason why he took the blood essence of the ancestral Magus wasn't for himself to use. What a joke. He had the stellar primordial body. How could that be inferior to the ancestral Magus? Mengpa waved her sleeve, and 2 beams of light flew into Hanju's sleeve. He asked with a voice transmission, "Why didn't you give Linger the inheritance?" Mengpa replied, "Her cultivation level is too low. It's not suitable for her right now." Hanju nodded and stopped asking. He returned to the mortal world. He took out the divine weapon. It was a spear. The body of the spear was wrapped in a black dragon. The spearhead occupied a third of the spear. It was extremely mighty, not suitable for women at all. "Take it to Linger," Hanju instructed. Dao Comprehension Sword. Chapter 222 Heavenly Dao Buddha, Increased Providence. Alright. Dao Comprehension Sword picked up the spear and walked out of the cave abode. muttering to herself, "Master wants to focus on nurturing Linger?" The other disciples weren't given treasures. Hanju didn't know what she was thinking and couldn't be bothered. He took out the ancestral Magus blood essence. The blood essence was stored in a small green jade bottle. Hanju felt a terrifying murderous aura the moment he opened it. Wow! If the blood was already so strong, how strong was the ancestral Magus when he was at the peak? Hanju's understanding of the ancestral magi came from some novels and myths in his previous life, but he couldn't take them seriously. This cultivation world seemed to be related to the investiture of the gods, Journey to the West, and the primordial world, but it was also very different. Hanju was thinking about how to use the ancestral Magus blood essence. His first choice was the black hell chicken, was afraid that the chicken would be devoured by the blood essence. Hanju probed the ancestral Magus blood essence with his divine sense. In an instant, he was repelled by a terrifying power. Hanju was frightened and broke out in cold sweat. He hurriedly kept the ancestral Magus blood essence. He would use it in the future. This thing was absorbed into his body. Wouldn't he explode? After some thinking, Hanju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. Another 10 years passed. As usual, Hanju cursed and checked his emails. Your good friend Jiang Yi comprehended the Sword Dao and became an immortal emperor of the Sword Dao. Your good friend Ji Xianchen was attacked by a fiendish cultivator. X1687. Your good friend Long Shan has obtained a true dragon race divine weapon. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your grand disciple Feng Liang dreamed of entering the Great Void. His divinity has increased. Your good friend Mengpa was attacked by the demon race's immortal emperor, X9. Your good friend Mengpa was severely injured. Fortunately, a mighty figure from the netherworld saved her. Your grand disciple Chu Shuren has awakened a Buddhist mystical power. Your good friend Heavenly Emperor was attacked by a mighty figure. Hanju raised his eyebrows. The so-called mighty figure should be in existence above the immortal emperor. The system was also constantly upgrading. Anything it couldn't detect would be a mighty figure. There were really many mighty figures in the other worlds. Even the heavenly emperor would be attacked. This heavenly court was too dangerous. He couldn't go there. Hanju noticed that Chu Shuren had actually awakened a Buddhist mystical power. Could this fellow have already become the Supreme Buddha? Several months later, Hanju asked Dao Comprehension Sword to call Chu Shuren in. He wanted to talk to him alone. After Chu Shuren entered, he was a little nervous. Was Grand Master going to teach him a mystical power? Please no. Chu Shuren knelt down in front of him. Hanju asked, "Have you comprehended a mystical power recently?" Chu Shuren looked up in shock. How did Grand Master know? Chu Shuren said in shame, "I didn't mean to. It was just a dream." "I didn't expect, Hanju. This guy was good at posturing," Hanju said angrily. "Isn't it good to become stronger? You said that you don't want to cultivate, but haven't you already secretly cultivated to the Mahayana realm?" That's right, Chu Shuren had already reached the Mahayana realm ever since Zhou Mingwei became his disciple. He had been secretly cultivating, afraid that he would be caught up. When Chu Shuren heard that, he immediately felt awkward. He didn't expect that he would still be seen through by his Grandmaster. "Grandmaster, I keep feeling that if I continue to cultivate, I will become another person. There's a terrifying power hidden in my body," Chu Shuren said. After mustering his courage, Hanju said, "Everyone has their own past life. There's no need to resist. You're you. Everything in the past is like smoke and mist. This cultivate diligently become immortal mountain not only cultivates cultivation, but also mental states. One day, you will be like me, seeing through everything and not thinking about anything. This is cultivation. Letting go of everything is the great Tao." Chu Shuren was deep in thought. For some reason, he felt that Hanju's words were filled with meaning. What did Grandmaster want him to let go of? Put down his ideals, Hanju began to teach him the mystical power, regardless of whether Chu Shuren would become the Supreme Buddha in the end. Since there was an affinity between them, he had to teach him. Several days later, Chu Shuren left. Hanju only taught him the cultivation mantra and related memories. The specific cultivation depended on him. When Zhou Mingyue saw Chu Shuren come out, he hurriedly went up and asked curiously, "Master, did Grandmaster teach you a mystical power?" Chu Shuren nodded. "Master, teach me too." Zhou Mingyue said excitedly. Chu Shuren hesitated for a moment but still nodded. In a huge, bright hall, a huge golden Buddha sat on a lotus throne. His figure was like a mountain, and he had a dignified expression. 24 huge Buddha beads floated behind him emitting various lights. Was the only one in the hall. He slowly opened his eyes and muttered, "Supreme Buddha, are you coming back?" He raised his right hand and waved it forward. A Buddhist seal shot out and quickly rushed out of the hall. Before long, a monk in white flew in. He had a handsome face and wore white clothes. Amitabha. Greetings, Heavenly Tao Buddha. The white-robed monk pressed his palms together and bowed. Heavenly Tao Buddha said, "The Supreme Buddha is about to awaken. Go invite him back." Upon hearing that, the white-robed monk frowned. He said, "The Supreme Buddha is in Immortal World of the Heavenly Court. I'm afraid the Heavenly Emperor won't agree to this. Do it at all costs." Amitabha. The white-robed monk looked helpless but still agreed. Heavenly Tao Buddha raised his hand, and a golden Buddhist staff flew in front of the white-robed monk. The white-robed monk was pleasantly surprised. Tathagata Buddha staff. Heavenly Tao Buddha closed his eyes and said, "I want only success." The white-robed monk held the Buddha staff and nodded solemnly. Spring passed and autumn came. As time passed, the world became a whole new sight. 30 years went by. Hanju was still cultivating. He was still a distance away from the mid-stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. T had already been 100 years, and he still couldn't break through a minor realm. It was really difficult to break through at the golden immortal realm. Hanju wasn't in a hurry. He believed that his speed was already fast. Long Shan was still stuck at the mid-stage Grand Unity True Immortal Realm and had already been left behind by Hanju. On this day, Hanju suddenly opened his eyes with a strange expression. He sensed that the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world was increasing. In the past, it was difficult to sense it, but ever since he stepped into the Golden Immortal Realm, Hanju could detect it.as the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world soared. The spirit chi of heaven and earth also began to increase. Hanju immediately took out the Heavenly Tao token and checked the ranking on the Heavenly Tao tablet. The Scarlet Cloud world's ranking was constantly rising. T was very fast. Hanju panicked and hurriedly used the Heavenly Tao token to observe the Scarlet Cloud world. He discovered that the Mahayana cultivators hidden in the small world were all breaking through. Their providence was all gathered in the mortal world, causing the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world to constantly rise. There was something fishy. Hanju suspected that these people had formed a group. It was impossible for them to break through together so coincidentally. Someone must be secretly organizing it. Hanju held the Heavenly Tao token and started to deduce with his fingers. Soon, he realized it was the Heavenly Immortal Manner. The Heavenly Tao could reflect everything in the world. Hanju could spy on the Heavenly Tao in the mortal world, so he naturally knew what the Heavenly Immortal Manor was plotting. So the Heavenly Court had a plan behind this. A former Heavenly Immortal Manor member from the Heavenly Court sent a dream to the Heavenly Immortal Manor and taught them the technique of providence, allowing the manor to collude with the mighty figures of the mortal world to strengthen the Scarlet Cloud world. They succeeded. The upper limit of the mortal world would no longer be the Mahayana realm. Just like in Li Yao's mortal world, it would also be able to support immortals. Chapter 223 Divine Lord Wu De, Morong Chi's Ascension. After knowing the truth, Hanju hurriedly used the Heavenly Tao token to contact Di Tai Bai. Soon, the divine sense connection was successful. What's going on? Why did someone from the Heavenly Court deliberately increase the providence of our Scarlet Cloud world? Hanju asked. He was really angry. Di Tai Bai was speechless. Isn't it good to help you? Di Tai Bai said, the stronger the Scarlet Cloud world is, the greater the benefits to you. The stronger your providence is, the less likely you will encounter mental demons. In addition, your disciples and grand disciples can always accompany you. Isn't that a good thing? Hanju said, I'm afraid of trouble. The stronger the Scarlet Cloud world is, the more enemies there will be. That's true. So, you have to let your disciples become stronger quickly. You can recommend them to the Heavenly Court in the future. Good fellow, that's your plan all along? Don't mind it too much. If you want to become an immortal emperor, you need Providence. No matter what cultivation technique it is, it's the same. You will soon understand that if you don't fight with others, you need a deity position. Really? Would I lie to you? Hanju remained silent, he didn't give up. Then, you have to send experts to guard the void of the Scarlet Cloud world. Otherwise, I'm afraid of death. How many people can actually kill you now? Di Taibai said helplessly. After knowing that Hanju was a golden immortal, he knew that he might not be Hai's match anymore. The Heavenly Court was interested in Hanju because of his combat strength. He could fight above his realm. Hanju said, I can be at ease with just one more person. Alright, I'll ask His Majesty. How's the Heavenly Emperor recently? He just suppressed an immortal emperor not long ago. You don't have to worry about His Majesty. The strongest person in the Heavenly Court is His Majesty. Then, I'm relieved. After severing the connection with his divine sense, Hanju clicked his tongue in wonder. He didn't expect the Heavenly Emperor to be the strongest in the Heavenly Court. Could it be that the Heavenly Emperor position was snatched by brute force? When he surpassed the Heavenly Emperor, could he also become a Heavenly Emperor? Forget it, too troublesome. Besides, the Heavenly Emperor had done him a favor. He couldn't stab him in the back. Hanju no longer cared about the mortal world and continued cultivating. The following period of time, the spirit chi in the entire mortal world increased, causing an uproar. The Jade Pure Sacred Sect was also very surprised. The cultivators thought that it was the deity slaying elders doing. The Cultivate diligently become a mortal mountain. Shushuren was stimulated by something and began to cultivate diligently. His breakthrough speed also stimulated the others. Zhou Minghua finally began to show his talent. 40 years passed. Hanju finally broke through to the mid-stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm and almost cried in joy. After breaking through, he hurriedly raised his mystical powers. 3 years later, his strength had increased to its current limit. Hanju started the simulation trial and fought Jiang Yi. 5 minutes later, he opened his eyes and frowned slightly. Killing Jiang Yi took so long. This fellow was really ridiculously strong. After so many years, Jiang Yi's strength was definitely stronger than in the simulation trial. Sigh, there's always someone stronger. I still have to hurry up and cultivate. Hanju thought silently and felt a sense of urgency. He couldn't let Jiang Yi win. He had to have the strength to kill Jiang Yi the next time they met. Hanju's eyes were firm. Master, Liao left her mortal world, but she's lost. Should we guide her? Dao Comprehension Sword asked when she saw Hanju open his eyes. In the long years, watching Liao's life was already her greatest interest. When Liao was injured, her heart would ache. When Liao fought her way out, she would be pleasantly surprised. Hanju was glad that she wasn't in the modern world of Earth. Otherwise, she would definitely be useless and would stay at home to watch dramas every day. It's fine. You only know how precious life is after experiencing countless dangers, Hanju replied. With Liao's cautious personality, it was very difficult for her to die on the way. Dao Comprehension Sword sighed. I hope she can persist. After observing Liao for so long, Dao Comprehension Sword quite liked her. It was mainly because Liao didn't take the initiative to provoke others and did not cry. She always appeared very strong. Hanju walked to the 9 Heavens Galaxy water, took out the Book of Misfortune, and started cursing the enemies. Liao was still the same as before even after so many years had passed. She was dressed in white as snow. As she walked in the void, she was elegant and mysterious, as if she was a god that walked in the chaos and had no destination. The only change was that her gaze became more determined. Several months later, Hanju's curse ended. He checked his emails and didn't see any enemy injured by his curse. Damn, Hanju continued cultivating, striving to reach the late stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm as soon as possible. 10 years later, Hanju opened his eyes and prepared to relax. He habitually tested the strongest person in the Scarlet Cloud world, Divine Lord Wu Di, perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm, 3rd grade Heavenly General of the Heavenly Court. The expert of the Heavenly Court had arrived. Hanju smiled. The Heavenly Emperor was still reliable. Hanju immediately simulated the trial. there was no insta-kill. Divine Lord Wu De lasted for 10 seconds, not bad. Not bad, Hanju was very satisfied with Divine Lord Wu De's strength. After all, he could instantly kill Tai Bai and Dragon subduing Buddha. With Divine Lord Wu De around, Hanju would be more at ease cultivating. Master, Morong Chi is looking for you. He wants to ascend. Dao Comprehension Sword saw that his eyes had opened and immediately said. Hanju raised his eyebrows. Let him in, Hanju muttered. Dao Comprehension Sword nodded and went out to call Morong Chi in. Morong Chi entered and knelt in front of him. Grand Master, can you let me enter the heavenly court? I cultivate the Tao of battle. I can only become stronger quickly in battle. Hanju said, no problem, but you have to be careful. Always be vigilant when outside. The Divine Palace has already discovered you. Morong Chi nodded. He had thought about many things and about all the possible dangers. Hanju took out the Heavenly Tao token and contacted Tai Bai in front of Morong Chi. I have a grand disciple who wants to enter the heavenly court. He wants to fight. Can you help me arrange it? Hanju asked. Tai Bai smiled. No problem. Is it Morong Chi? Looks like you've been thinking about it for a long time. We've long heard of the Divine Palace's profound truth, Divine Emperor. When the time comes, I'll try my best to let him avoid the Divine Palace and fight with the Demon Court first. All right. Hanju cut off the connection and looked at Morong Chi. It's settled. Could it be that the Heavenly Emperor, an old fox, had figured out all the disciples of the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain? Even the reincarnation of profound truth Divine Emperor was exposed. Morong Chi asked curiously, Grandmaster, what's your relationship with the Heavenly Court? This wasn't like a mortal world guardian at all. Morong Chi felt that Hanju might be a second-grade immortal or even higher. Hanju smiled and said, anyway, the Heavenly Court treats me well. You can stay there in peace. The Heavenly Court had already offended many experts for him. At this point, Hanju already trusted the Heavenly Emperor. Morong Chi nodded and said, Grandmaster, I've left a cave abode in the upper world. When I find it, I'll send some treasures back to help the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain, increase its spirit chi. I also have a group of subordinates who can also guard the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain. Subordinates, Hanju asked, how strong are they? There are a total of 72 Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm cultivators. Morong Chi's answer caused Hanju to raise his eyebrows. So many? There were as many Golden Immortals as dogs? Chapter 224 Attack of the Demon Saint, Heavenly Emperor's Ambition. You've been reincarnated for so long, but they still acknowledge you? Hanju asked curiously. How many years had the profound truth Divine Emperor been reincarnated? Tens of thousands of years had already passed. Morong Chi replied, I'm close to them. We once survived the immeasurable calamity together. Even if the world changes, our relationship will not change. Hanju thought for a moment and said, it's better to be cautious. I don't expect you to repay me. Survival is the most important. Morong Chi smiled. What he respected the most about Hanju was that he didn't fight for benefits. Even if he wanted to become a disciple in the Divine Palace, he had to serve his master. However, after being under Hanju for so long, their greatest request was to stay on the mountain and cultivate diligently. Such high morals were rare in the immortal world. The two of them chatted for a long time before Hanju let Morong Chi leave. After so many years, the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world had already increased. The peak of the mortal world was no longer the Mahayana realm, but the loose immortal realm. However, after reaching the Tribulation Transcendence realm, one could still ascend as long as one could successfully transcend the tribulation. With Morong Chi's potential, it wasn't difficult for him to ascend. In less than half a year, he successfully ascended. His departure didn't cause the others of the hidden sect to waver. After all, the spirit chi of the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain wasn't inferior to the immortal world. There was also Immortal Chi. He had only ascended to seek opportunities. Cultivation was endless. Hanju continued to cultivate diligently. Occasionally, he would curse his enemies, check his emails, investigate the Scarlet Cloud world, and teach his disciples. The days were as usual. There were no accidents or changes. 20 years passed. Hanju was cursing the enemy. In the distant void, the heavenly puppet suddenly saw a ball of flames rapidly growing in size. To be precise, it was rapidly approaching him. Hanju immediately used the simulation trial to test the strongest person in the Scarlet Cloud world. Great Sage Heavenly Fox, Perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm, Demon Court Demon Saint, Dream Demoness, Perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm, Demon Court Demon Saintess, 2 Demon Saints. Hanju frowned. He started the simulation trial and fought 1 against 2. In any case, with Divine Lord Wude around, he could withstand it for a period of time. 3 breaths later, he opened his eyes. He frowned. He couldn't kill them instantly, would try another battle method. Hanju continued the simulation trials, determined to find a way to insta-kill the 2 demon saints. In the void, the 2 demon saints flew with torrential flames. A huge saber shadow slashed down and stopped them. How dare you, demons! How dare you barge into the heavenly court's mortal world! Divine Lord Wude shouted as he appeared. He wore heavy silver blue armor and a tiger head with beads on it. He had 4 eyes and looked majestic. Without another word, he started fighting. He wielded his saber and slashed. The flames exploded and 2 demon saints appeared. Great Sage Heavenly Fox had a human head and wore black clothes, with 9 huge tails behind him. Dream Demoness had the body of a woman. She was graceful, but her body was covered in leaves. It was extremely terrifying. Humph. So it's Divine Lord Wude. No wonder you're so arrogant. Dream Demoness snorted coldly. She quickly cast a spell with both hands as her dermic powers transformed into huge vines that were even larger than a mountain range and lashed out at Divine Lord Wude. Great Sage Heavenly Fox raised his hand, and a black whip covered in spikes appeared out of thin air, also striking at Divine Lord Wude. A huge battle erupted. Under the Fusang tree, the 2 golden crows and the 3-headed Wyrm king looked up. They had all surpassed the Mahayana realm and could feel a terrifying pressure in the sky. They immediately became nervous. What happened? Inside the connate cave abode, finally finding a way to insta-kill the 2 demon saints, Hanju immediately headed into the void. The other party came menacingly and was obviously not passing by. They were either sent by the 9-tailed demon empress to take revenge or to deal with 2 Lingard. No matter what, they had to die. Hanju appeared in the void and watched as Divine Lord Wude was surrounded and beaten. It had to be said that the 2 demon saints were quite strong. They directly suppressed Divine Lord Wude. Divine Lord Wude grumbled, "No wonder His Majesty sent me here." 2 demon saints came at once. Who can resist? Divine Lord Wude cursed silently and could only continue. His body shook and he quickly grew taller, as if a giant was born in the void. The scene was shocking. He raised his saber with both hands and slashed down angrily. A long crack tore through the void as lightning interwove. Terrifying saber chi erupted and swept in all directions. The 2 demon saints were suppressed and forced to retreat. Hanju didn't attack immediately but watched the battle with relish. He would first let Divine Lord Wude exhaust himself. This way, it would be easier to instantly kill them. Divine Lord Wude noticed Hanju, but he didn't care. This fellow was only at the true Immortal Realm and couldn't interfere. Hanju took out the Heavenly Dao token and contacted Di Tai Bai as he watched the battle. Soon, the Divine Sense connection was successful. "Hey, why did you let 2 demon saints in?" Divine Lord Wude can't hold on much longer, Hanju said. "Why could the enemy enter the Heavenly Court's mortal world whenever they wanted?" Di Tai Bai said helplessly, "The Heavenly Court is above the 9 heavens of the immortal world. The mortal world is below the immortal world. There are countless worlds in the universe. How can our Heavenly Court protect every mortal world? Go help Divine Lord Wude. Their Great Sage Heavenly Fox and Dream Demoness, won't killing them attract even more trouble? It's actually them? Kill them, it's fine. We're irreconcilable with the Demon Court, anyway." His divine sense cut off the connection. inside the numinous palace. Deities looked up at the heavenly emperor and said, Great sage Heavenly Fox and Dream Demoness have gone to the Scarlet Cloud world. The heavenly emperor said casually, I saw it. Since that kid dared to show up, it means that he's not afraid. Don't worry. These two demon saints rarely attack. Were they sent by the nine-tailed demon empress? I remember that they don't belong to her. They're under the demon emperor. They must be here for the Magus race. Deities' expression changed slightly. Magus race, it was an ancient race, so ancient that he had almost forgotten about them. Deities asked carefully, is Hanju a descendant of the Magus race? He had always been curious about Hanju's background. The heavenly emperor snorted. How is that possible? How can there be such a cowardly person in the Magus race? True. It's the work of that person from the underworld. Like the heavenly court, she wants to rope Hanju in. I've always turned a blind eye to it. If the Magus race makes a comeback, will it affect the heavenly court? That's good. I can use Hanju to win over the Magus race. Deities came to a realization and looked at the heavenly emperor in admiration. His Majesty really thought far ahead. The current heavenly court needed more power. Indeed, the other side, Hanju took out the primordial judgment sword and walked towards the two demon saints. The two demon saints fighting didn't think much of him and focused on attacking Divine Lord Wude. Hanju's eyes narrowed. He suddenly waved his sword and slashed out 9 layers of sword chi. They stood in front of the sword blade and formed billions of sword shadows. Almost instantly, the 3 pure world cleansing erupted. Millions of sword shadows shot out with a world-shattering momentum, sweeping through everything. Divine Lord Wuda, Great Sage Heavenly Fox, and Dream Demoness turned their heads in horror. This was, oh no. Dodge. Great Sage Heavenly Fox shouted angrily and quickly jumped away. Dream Demoness' reaction was a little slow as billions of sword shadows appeared in front of her. Chapter 225 Hatred of the Demon Emperor, Friend of the War God. Dream Demoness was drowned by the 3 pure world cleansing and her body and soul were destroyed. Great Sage Heavenly Fox, who had dodged, showed a drastic change in expression. He could sense that the Dream Demoness aura was instantly obliterated. Impossible. Before Great Sage Heavenly Fox could think further, the billions of sword shadows of the 3 pure world cleansing turned around and attacked him. They were like a torrent of the heavenly Tao that swept through the void, unstoppable. Great Sage Heavenly Fox turned around and fled in fear. Hanju raised his left hand and used the Heaven-Earth Mystic Yellow World-Piercing Sword Finger, shooting at Great Sage Heavenly Fox's head. Great Sage Heavenly Fox didn't die even after having lost his head. He was still fleeing. However, his speed was affected. 3 pure world cleansing quickly caught up and destroyed his body and soul. In the simulation trial, the reason he couldn't kill the 2 demon saints was that they were proficient in escaping. After being exhausted by Divine Lord Wuda, the 2 demon saints were caught off guard. How could they escape? The entire process took less than 2 breaths of time. The 2 perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm cultivators couldn't withstand Hanju's sword chi. He had used 2 Emperor Realm mystical powers. Not every Grand Unity Golden Immortal was like Jiang Yi. Divine Lord Wude was dumbfounded as he looked at Hanju in shock. Impossible. He directly killed 2 famous demon saints. How strong is this person? Hanju cupped his fists and said, "Thank you." With that, he turned around and left. Divine Lord Wude was still stunned and couldn't recover from his shock. Inside the numinous palace, the heavenly emperor waved his sleeve and retracted the mirror. Deities sighed. This child's strength is truly terrifying. His breakthrough speed is even faster than the one from the Divine Palace and the Golden Crow Divine Clan. The Heavenly Emperor said calmly, "This is why I treat him so well. He's worth it." Deities nodded. Such talent was indeed worthy of being nurtured by the Heavenly Court at all costs. Has the war between the Golden Crow Divine Clan and the Divine Palace ended? The Heavenly Emperor asked. Deities replied, "It's over." The Divine Palace compromised and gave the 3 star domains to the Golden Crow Divine Clan. He couldn't help but sigh at the mention of this. The Divine Palace was so powerful, but it actually compromised. the Golden Crow Divine Clan cannot be underestimated. I have always felt that they're ambitious. In the past, they were the Emperor clan of the demon race. After the Magus demon calamity, the Golden Crow Divine Clan and the Magus race perished together. Now, both races might rise again. The Heavenly Court needs to weigh their relationships. An unprecedented immeasurable calamity might be coming. The Heavenly Emperor frowned slightly as worry appeared in his eyes. Deities asked carefully, "Your Majesty, what do you see?" The Heavenly Emperor said, "I see an era filled with darkness and the immortal god's demise." It's very similar to that legend. Which legend? The Tao Devil War. Gasped Deities was shocked. He hurriedly asked, "Will the devils cause chaos in the worlds?" Not the devil race, but an existence even more terrifying than the devils. The Heavenly Emperor's eyes darkened. Deities wanted to ask more, but the Heavenly Emperor waved his hand, signaling him to leave. He could only bow and leave. After leaving the numinous palace, Deities was still thinking about the Heavenly Emperor's words. What could make the Heavenly Emperor uneasy and fearful? The Demon Emperor has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points. For stars, Hanju looked at the line of words in front of him and fell silent. He silently checked his interpersonal relationships. Demon Emperor, cultivation unknown. Lord of the Demon Court, immeasurable Emperor. He has unified the demon race for countless years. He is equivalent to the Lord of the Divine Palace, the Heavenly Emperor of the Heavenly Court, and the Heavenly Tao Buddha of the Buddhist sect. They are collectively known as the Four Peaks of the Heavenly Tao. He is a peak existence on the path of cultivation. Because you killed his two demon saints, he has developed hatred towards you. Once you leave the Heavenly Court, he will definitely kill you. Current hatred points. For stars, it looked amazing. Hanju secretly felt disdain. So what if you're the Demon Emperor? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hanju picked up the Book of Misfortune with a trembling right hand and started cursing the enemy. Would first curse the other enemies before cursing the Demon Emperor. He took a deep breath and started checking his emails. Your good friend Long Shan was attacked by a demon saint. His life is hanging by a thread. Fortunately, your good friend Divine General helped him. Your good friend Zhou Fan has learned a Tao sect mystical power. His providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Di Hongya was attacked by the true dragon race, X1863. Your disciple Su Qi has joined the Divine Palace. Your grand disciple Morong Qi obtained the Heavenly Court War God inheritance. Your enemy Nine-Tailed Demon Empress has developed a mental demon because of your curse. Your enemy Heavenly Rage Buddha has been injured by your curse. Your good friend Ji Xianchen accidentally entered the chaotic forbidden zone. Hanju was overjoyed when he saw that the Nine-Tailed Demon Empress and the Heavenly Rage Buddha had been successfully cursed by him. The pressure from the Demon Emperor immediately decreased. The Book of Misfortune was indeed reliable. Hanju noticed that Su Qi had joined the Divine Palace. Interesting. It seemed that he could ask him to help save Zhang Guxing in the future, but then again, if the Heavenly Court could see through Morong Qi and Feng Liang, why couldn't they see through Su Qi? Could it be that the Heavenly Court also rejected Su Qi, so they didn't recruit him? Was the jinx so scary? Perhaps Su Qi had a higher status, and the Heavenly Court did not dare to recruit him, Hanju thought silently. After cursing for a few months, he continued cultivating. Being targeted by the Demon Emperor, Hanju had to cultivate harder. He couldn't rely on the Heavenly Emperor for his entire life. In the end, he had to rely on himself. Heavenly Court, beside the Heavenly River, in a cloud stone pavilion. Morong Qi and the Divine General sat opposite each other and drank. The Divine General smiled and said, "How many years has it been? I can finally drink with you again. In the past, I invited you to join the Heavenly Court, but you refused. Now, you've come knocking on my door." After changing into the Heavenly General's silver armor, Morong Qi looked even more handsome. He wasn't inferior to the Divine General at all, but his dominance was inferior to the latter. Morong Qi chuckled. If not for Grandmaster joining the Heavenly Court, I wouldn't have come. I still don't approve of the Heavenly Court. The Divine General asked suspiciously, you've already awakened your previous life's memories. Why do you still acknowledge him as your grandmaster? Don't you think it's beneath you? Why would that be so? He's so weak. Do you actually know my grandmaster's cultivation level? I see. I've only awakened the memories of my previous life. I'm no longer the same person. Morongchi swirled his wine cup as his thoughts drifted. The divine general narrowed his eyes and asked, "Hurry up and recover your immortal emperor cultivation level. I can't wait to fight you." Morongchi asked, "The heavenly court wants to be tied to the divine palace?" He frowned. Who was once the war god of the divine palace, was determined to overturn it. It's just the current trend. Perhaps the situation will change tomorrow, the divine general said nonchalantly. I'm only a spear in the hands of the heavenly emperor. I don't care about the big picture. I will kill whoever the heavenly emperor wants me to kill. Morongchi smiled mockingly. It was unknown if he was mocking himself or being disdainful of the divine general. The divine general continued, Jiang Yi of the Golden Crow divine clan has just become an immortal emperor. Do you remember him? He almost became your disciple. Morongchi replied, I don't remember, it's no longer important. He changed the topic and said, I'm going to the Heaven Punishment Divine region. Can you accompany me? Chapter 226 Change in the Mortal World, Heartless Great Tao. With your cultivation level, aren't you courting death by going to the Heaven Punishment Divine region? The divine general teased. Morongchi rolled his eyes and snorted. It's settled, then. The divine general shook his head and laughed, not refuting. Morongchi's thoughts drifted out of the heavenly court and back to the Cultivate, diligently become immortal mountain. After getting used to cultivating diligently, he was really not used to life in the heavenly court. After killing great sage Heavenly Fox and Dream Demonis, 20 years had passed, the Scarlet Cloud world had completely changed, many loose immortals appeared in the cultivation world. Mahayana was no longer a legend. Under the influence of the spirit chi of the cultivation immortal mountain, the cultivation of all the cultivators in the Jade Pure Sacred sect also increased steadily. Not long ago, they had attracted a Mahayana realm guest. Although Hanju had fewer connections with the Jade Pure Sacred sect now, no one in the cultivation world dared to provoke them. The heavenly immortal manor had even established a friendly relationship with them to help each other. However, there were still disciples kneeling below the Cultivate diligently become immortal mountain. Although the chance of being chosen by Hanju was very low, many people wanted to try. On this day, Hanju had just finished cursing the enemy when he came to the Nine Heavens Galaxy water to watch. Li Yao was still traveling through the void. The worlds were endless, and it was very difficult to find the Scarlet Cloud world. Hanju had established a connection with her and could let her sense the direction. As for the exact location, she would only know after she got close. Hanju deduced. She was very far away. It was so far that even the reincarnation golden immortal couldn't tell how far it was. After so many years, Liao's cultivation level had been increasing. Now, she was already at the late stage Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm. Not bad. Hanju was very satisfied with Liao's talent. If she could join the hidden sect, it would also help increase the average combat strength of the Cultivate diligently become immortal mountain. Tao Comprehension Sword asked, Master, when are you accepting new disciples? She had always wanted to take in a female disciple. Hanju said, it's not time yet. He had yet to encounter anyone with connate Providence. It was indeed strange, now that the system's detection range had already covered the entire Scarlet Cloud world. Why was there none in the mortal world? Could it be that as he grew stronger, the requirements of detecting connate Providence also began to increase? Very likely. Someone with Yang Tiandong's amount of connate Providence wasn't worth mentioning now. It was like before, Hanju would probably be frequently reminded, thinking of Yang Tiandong. He wondered how this kid was doing recently. Ever since Feng Liang and Morongchi ascended, the Fusong tree has become much quieter. Hawa is no longer as lively as before. Tao Comprehension Sword sighed. Tu Linger also often went out to train, so Tao Comprehension Sword's usual joy was to watch Li Yao's adventures. However, Li Yao spent most of her time cultivating or traveling. There were too few exciting segments. Hanju said calmly, "This is the loneliness on the path of cultivation. If you can't suppress your loneliness, how can you surpass all living beings?" Dao Comprehension Sword curled her lips and said, "I don't want to surpass all living beings. Just follow Master." "You don't want to, but I want to. But if your cultivation isn't enough, you won't be able to keep up with me and can't escape the cycle of reincarnation, just like the previous sect master of the Jade Pure Sacred Sect." Hanju's words caused Dao Comprehension's Sword to frown. That was true. For some reason, Dao Comprehension's Sword heard a hint of loneliness in Hanju's tone. Thinking about it carefully, she actually didn't understand him. She didn't know where Hanju came from, what he was thinking, or why he was so obsessed with longevity. Hanju was indeed in a low mood. Recently, there seemed to be fewer images in his interpersonal relationships. He couldn't even remember who they were. There were not many people in the Jade Pure Sacred Sect that he was familiar with, other than Fairy Shixian and Changyuer. Everything on Jade Serene Peak had changed. Even though Fairy Shixian and Changyuer were still alive, Hanju discovered that his feelings for them were also fading. Hanju's only obsession was longevity. Perhaps this is the heartlessness of the Great Tao? Hanju thought silently. An almighty figure could make every related person rise up alongside him. Experiencing life and death was normal in the mortal world. After thinking, Hanju shook his head and smiled. He turned around and returned to the bed to cultivate. Dao Comprehension's Sword fell silent. She sat back on the mat and began cultivating. She felt something, but it was indescribable. She knew that only by cultivating persistently could she understand her master's heart. 7 years later, the first thing Xing Hongxian did when she returned was to find Hanju. After Dao Comprehension's Sword walked out of the cave abode, she began to talk about her experiences over the years. Hanju stared at her in a daze. Even after so many years, Xing Hongxian seemed to have not changed. Perhaps she had changed, but her attitude towards him had not. As he listened, Hanju couldn't help but smile. Several hours later, Xing Hongxian finally finished. Her mouth had also gone dry. She smiled and said, "I really want to ascend as soon as possible. You no longer care about the treasures in the mortal world. Unfortunately, my cultivation level is insufficient. I still have to wait for a few thousand years before I can ascend." Hanju smiled and said, "I don't need you to give me treasures every time." In the past, he needed them and even looked forward to receiving her gifts. Thinking about it now, Hanju also felt that he was a little ridiculous. Xing Hongxian came to find him with joy, but he was thinking about treasures instead. "Have you had any problems with your cultivation recently?" Hanju asked. For some reason, Xing Hongxian felt that Hanju was exceptionally gentle today. He had never been so gentle. Xing Hongxian's smile became even brighter. She started to pull Hanju's clothes and smiled. "Yes, but there's no hurry. Let's go first. You, don't talk, hurry up." And, after several months, Hanju began to guide Xing Hongxian in cultivation and even taught her a mystical power. 2 years passed in a flash. Xing Hongxian left in satisfaction. Dao Comprehension's Sword looked at her back with a displeased expression. She walked into the connate cave abode and was about to ask, but seeing that Hanju had already entered a meditative state, she could only give up. A bright hall. Su Qi and hundreds of people in similar robes knelt on the ground. Su Qi was very nervous. The Divine Palace was a top-notch power in the immortal world. It was on par with the heavenly court. He cherished the opportunity to enter it. A figure suddenly appeared in front of all the disciples. This person was dressed in a black robe and had a cold expression, with a sword at his waist. It was the Sword God Emperor. Sword God Emperor scanned everyone in the hall, and his gaze suddenly stopped on Su Qi. He frowned and pinched his fingers to deduce, "What, such overpowering bad luck? Where did this kid come from? He actually has a master-disciple relationship with that kid." Sword God Emperor thought doubtfully. Su Qi's bad luck made him instinctively want to expel him. However, he was related to Hanju. He thought for a moment and decided to turn a blind eye. Although you have passed the palace assessment, you're still far from being able to gain a foothold in the Divine Palace. If you cannot become a true immortal within 1,000 years, all of you will have to leave, Sword God Emperor said coldly. The disciples nodded in agreement. They weren't afraid. Instead, they were confident. Those who could enter the divine palace were all talented people. Some were even the number one in Immortal World. Sword God Emperor was about to leave when he suddenly sensed something. His expression instantly darkened as he cursed softly. Is there an end to this? How unlucky. He immediately vanished. Chapter 227 Ascension of the Mo family, White-Robed Buddha. Ever since Su Qi joined the Divine Palace, Hanju had been looking forward to his performance. However, the Divine Palace wasn't the Dragon Immortal Island. It wasn't so easy for Su Qi to rely on his bad luck to harm them. It could even be said to be impossible. Su Qi could even destroy the Divine Palace. He wouldn't be a jinx, he would be the immeasurable calamity itself, the tribulation that could let the heavenly Tao reshuffle its cards. Time passed. Hanju approached 2,000 years of age. His cultivation level was also developing towards the late stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. 30 years later, Hanju was awakened in the middle of cultivation by Tao Comprehension Sword. Master, 2 old friends are here to visit you. Hanju opened his eyes and scanned with his divine sense. He discovered that Mo Zhu and Mo Fuzhou had returned. The 2 of them were already at the Mahayana realm. A Mahayana realm cultivator around 2,000 years old was also considered a prodigy. Hanju said, "Let them in. Wait outside." Tao Comprehension Sword nodded and went to welcome them. Soon, Mo Fuzhou and Mo Zhu entered the cave abode. It wasn't Mo Zhu's first time here, but she still felt that things had changed. She looked at Hanju with a complicated expression. Mo Fuzhou was the first to smile. "Brother Han, long time no see." Seeing Hanju again, Mo Fuzhou sighed with emotions. Hanju smiled and nodded. "Why are you willing to come back?" Mo Fuzhou said, "The 2 of us are preparing to ascend. The Mo family wants us to go to the upper world to find the seniors of the family who have ascended. The Mo family's reputation in the mortal world has already been tarnished. We can't stay any longer." Ever since the Heavenly Court attacked, the fiends had become hated by everyone in the Scarlet Cloud world. The number of fiendish cultivators had decreased greatly, and they did not dare to openly travel the world. Hanju wasn't too surprised to know that the 2 of them were about to ascend. The 3 of them began to talk about the past and their experiences over the years. Hanju had been cultivating diligently, so he had nothing to say and listened most of the time. Several hours later, Mo Fuzhou left and let Mo Zhu and Hanju be alone. "I actually don't want to ascend, but the clan needs me and my brother to be revitalized. It's very difficult for him to do it alone." Mo Zhu sighed. She had inherited the inheritance of Mo Yuling and the previous family heads. Mo Fuzhou had obtained the inheritance of the devil race. The one who had truly inherited the Mo family was actually her. Hanju said, "Is the Mo family really that important to you?" Mo Zhu said, "I've been bearing this hatred since I was young. This is already an obsession, just like how you want to live forever." Hanju remained silent. This was also the reason why he did not forcefully dissuade Mo Zhu. Not all men lived for women. It was the same for women. It was impossible for Hanju to let all the women stay by his side every single day for all eternity. Just like in novels, love was never meant to be pursued forever, regardless of gender, especially for cultivators. If cultivators only lived for love, why would they cultivate? The immortal world is very dangerous. Be careful when the time comes, Hanju reminded. Mo Zhu nodded. Her face suddenly turned red and she lowered her head. Hanju understood and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "I don't want to have any regrets before leaving." "What regrets?" "You know what I'm talking about." Mo Zhu rebuked as her ears turned red. Hanju said, "Fine, come. I'll do as you say." Several months later, Mo Zhu left. She found Mo Fuzhou in the Jade Pure Sacred Sect, then the 2 of them left. Hanju didn't send them off. There was no need for these superficial acts. Tao Comprehension Sword walked into the cave abode and curled her lips. "Master, why is that woman covered in your aura? Inside her body, too?" Hanju almost fell off the bed. This question, Hanju glared at her and said, "What are you thinking about all day?" "We were discussing the Tao." I taught her a cultivation technique and used my dermic powers to circulate her spirit energy. Really? Of course. Then why didn't you teach me this? Are you worthy? Humph. Dao Comprehension Sword sat down angrily. Hanju couldn't be bothered with her and continued cultivating. Sigh, this grass has grown up and is beginning to have improper thoughts about me. What should I do? Hanju thought silently. Give her to someone else. Impossible. Although cultivation was for longevity, there was no need to push aside women who had a favorable impression of him. It was best to live a comfortable life. Moreover, there was no monogamy in this world. For example, the Heavenly Emperor wasn't joking about having 3,000 concubines. Hanju knew very well what Dao Comprehension Sword was thinking about him, but he didn't want to advance their relationship too early. This girl was too weak, she had to cultivate diligently. 10 years passed, Hanju cursed his enemies as usual and started to check his emails. Your good friend Ji Xianchen has cultivated the slaughter god physique. Your Dao companion Xian Qingjun was attacked by demons. X10223, your grand disciple Morong Qi and your good friend Divine General have entered the heavenly punishment divine domain. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was captured by a mighty figure and was forcefully enlightened. Your good friend Jiang Yi was attacked by an immortal emperor of the true dragon race, X14, your good friend Jiang Yi was severely injured and managed to escape. Your good friend Zhou Fan has comprehended a mystical power. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your disciple Sun Chang'an has comprehended the world. His providence has increased greatly. The number of battles in the past 10 years had decreased greatly. It seemed that peace had arrived in the immortal world. This was good. What was the point of fighting all day? Cultivation was already blocked by the heavenly tribulation. If they fought, wouldn't they be bewitched by the heavenly Tao? Hanju thought silently. At this moment. Detected bearer of connate Providence, check its origin. Hanju raised his eyebrows and immediately chose to check. White-robed Buddha, perfected grand unity golden immortal realm. He obtained the inheritance of the burning lamp ancient Buddha and has remarkable abilities. He was transformed into a Buddha by the heavenly Tao Buddha. On the surface, he is respectful to the Buddhist sect, but he is actually a disciple of the Tao sect's Chan school. He is secretly protected by a heavenly venerable and is not affected by the Buddha. The heavenly Tao Buddha sent him to find the Supreme Buddha. Find the Supreme Buddha. Hanju was vigilant and immediately started the simulation trial. 10 breaths later, he opened his eyes. What Buddhist staff is he using? It's a little strong. Hanju didn't give up and continued the fighting. This time, he unleashed his full strength. Too close. Still an instant kill. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. He wasn't afraid that the white-robed Buddha would cause trouble. At the same time, in the void, Divine Lord Wuda stopped the white-robed Buddha and asked, White-robed Buddha, why are you here? Amitba. This world is fated with me. I'm here to impart the cultivation techniques of the Buddhist Tao. The white-robed Buddha smiled. He was handsome and smiled kindly. Divine Lord Wuda frowned, was about to retort when he suddenly heard a voice, so he said, if you dare to cause trouble, I will attack you immediately. With that, he turned around and made way. The white-robed Buddha smiled and nodded before flying towards the scarlet cloud world. Divine Lord Wuda vanished into the darkness soon after. Hanju's heavenly puppet witnessed this scene and couldn't help but curse. Why was he allowed in? Wasn't the heavenly court and the Buddhist sect enemies? Hanju hesitated. Should he kill the white-robed Buddha? However, the white-robed Buddha had only come to find the Supreme Buddha and not to find trouble with him. Wouldn't killing the white-robed Buddha cause trouble for him? Chapter 228 Eastern Wu Divine World, Sun Quan. The white-robed Buddha entered the scarlet cloud world. He didn't immediately head to the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain but wandered around the mortal world. Since he wasn't in a hurry, Hanju wasn't either. He could kill him instantly. Anyway, he continued to cultivate. The white-robed Buddha really began to promote his cultivation technique. However, this fellow did not promote Buddhist techniques, but Tao techniques instead. Hanju saw his actions through the heavenly Tao token while cultivating and couldn't help but be speechless. What? A traitor, Hanju found it funny. Could it be that he doesn't want to find the Supreme Buddha and is just delaying time? After all, he's a spy from the Tao sect's Chan school. Hanju was enlightened. This made sense. Was the white-robed Buddha not afraid of being deduced by the heavenly Tao Buddha? Hanju couldn't figure it out and could only continue to watch. In the blink of an eye, 20 years passed. The Tao techniques of Chan school began to flourish in the Scarlet Cloud world. Many sects of the Chan school appeared in the various states. Although they didn't cause a stir in the cultivation world, Hanju could see the white-robed Buddha's arrangements through the heavenly Tao token. Hanju didn't mind. There were all sorts of sects in the cultivation world. So what if there was one more Chan school? It was fine as long as it didn't affect him. On this day, the white-robed Buddha came to the Cultivate diligently become Immortal Mountain and wanted to visit the people on the mountain. Unfortunately, no matter how he shouted, no one responded. The white-robed Buddha frowned. A disciple of the Jade Pure Sacred sect kneeling in front of the stone tablet said, "Stop shouting. This is an immortal mountain. How can you go up as you wish?" The other kneeling disciples mocked. The white-robed Buddha shook his head and laughed. A group of mortals was truly ridiculous. He flashed to the Fusong tree. Everyone under the tree immediately opened their eyes. Long Hao stood up and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing?" The Black Hell Chicken, the three-headed Wyrm King, Tu Linger, Zhou Mingyue, Sun Cheng'an, Chu Shuren, and the two Golden Crows opened their eyes. The white-robed Buddha scanned the area and was shocked. Golden Crow. Ancient spiritual ginseng. Supreme Buddha. Heavenly Emperor Aura, and that demon saint. He was truly shocked. What the hell was this place? Why were there so many Providence bearers gathered? He knew the ancient spiritual ginseng and had interacted with it before. Long Hao's heavenly emperor aura was too strong. He also looked like the heavenly emperor. White-robed Buddha's heart sank. No wonder the heavenly Tao Buddha had given him the Tathagata Buddha staff. White-robed Buddha, why are you here? Sun Chang'an asked solemnly. Back in the Buddhist sect, he was only a pet, or even a slave. In the past, he had to look up to the white-robed Buddha. The white-robed Buddha smiled. "I'm here to fetch Buddha." Buddha. Sun Chang'an's expression changed drastically. The others were also stunned. Who was the Buddha? They immediately thought of Hanju. He had always been very mysterious to them. Master is a Buddha? How is that possible? Sun Chang'an was shocked. If Hanju was the Buddha, wouldn't he have been fooled by the Buddhists? At this moment, the white-robed Buddha looked at Chu Shuren and asked with a smile, "Buddha, are you coming back?" Swoosh! Everyone looked at Chu Shuren. Zhou Mingyue was pleasantly surprised. My master is a Buddha. Chu Shuren was stunned. How can I be Buddha? Don't slander me. Could it be that the one he encountered in his dream was Buddha? He can't go with you? Leave. Hanju's voice floated out of the cave abode. The white-robed Buddha couldn't help but turn to look at the connate cave abode. His divine sense couldn't enter it. The Tao field could block divine senses below the deity realm. The reason why the white-robed Buddha could enter was that Hanju didn't activate the defensive array formation of the Tao field, because the disciples often went out. Who are you? You shouldn't be an ordinary mortal world immortal, right? The white-robed Buddha asked with a smile, full of curiosity about Hanju. Hanju's voice floated out. If not for the fact that you're not truly with the Buddhist sect, I wouldn't have let you into the mortal world and would have killed you already. With that said, the white-robed Buddha's expression changed drastically. What did he mean? The white-robed Buddha pretended to be calm and smiled. Amitba, why would I not be with the Buddhist sect? Are you sure you want me to expose it? Remember, there's always someone listening. At this moment, the white-robed Buddha could no longer remain calm. He didn't dare to ask further. He asked in a low voice, "Who are you?" Eastern Wu Divine World, Sun Quan. The white-robed Buddha frowned. Where was the Eastern Wu Divine World? To be able to call itself a divine world, it must be extraordinary. If you don't leave in 3 breaths, you can stay here for good. Hanju's voice sounded. The white-robed Buddha instinctively sensed danger and hurriedly vanished. The others looked at each other. Zhou Mingyue muttered in surprise, "Isn't Master called?" The Black Hell Chicken glared and scolded him. "Shut up. What do you know? Master is doing this to avoid unnecessary trouble. Zhou Mingyue was instantly enlightened. At the end of the world, the white-robed Buddha appeared in the forest, panting heavily, that feeling just now. The other party is an immortal emperor? The white-robed Buddha was covered in a cold sweat. When Han Ju's reincarnation sword intent locked onto him, he felt the aura of death, Sun Quan of Eastern Wu divine world. There are indeed many hidden talents in the world. The white-robed Buddha sighed. He didn't have any hatred towards Han Ju. It was obvious that the other party didn't want to cause trouble, so he didn't attack, didn't want to invite the Supreme Buddha back, and was only putting on a show. Anyway, now, it wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he couldn't. The white-robed Buddha was very interested in Sun Quan now. How many factions had the Heavenly Court befriended? Forget it, I'll hide here and cultivate. I'll become an immortal emperor first. Fortunately, the Heavenly Emperor knows my identity. The white-robed Buddha thought silently and walked in a direction. White-robed Buddha has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, 2 stars. When Han Ju saw the line of words in front of him, a huge question mark appeared in his mind. Wait, so he's an ally? No wonder Divine Lord Wuda had let the white-robed Buddha in. The Heavenly Court and Chan School were colluding. Han Ju wanted to take out the Heavenly Dao token and ask, but he was afraid that it would be disadvantageous to him if he knew too much. That's right. I'm on good terms with the Dao sect's Chan School. I've long known about the white-robed Buddha's identity, but this matter cannot be made public. Don't tell Tai Bai either. As for the white-robed Buddha, let him stay in the Scarlet Cloud world. He can still help you. The Heavenly Emperor's voice entered his ears. Just as he had guessed, Han Ju took a deep breath and nodded. Wow, these big shots really knew how to play. They even hid it from their trusted aides. The Heavenly Court had spies from other factions, and the Buddhist sect also had spies from the Heavenly Court. Dao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, Master, is Chu Shuren really a Buddha? She remembered that Han Ju said that Long Hao didn't have the greatest background in her previous life. Han Ju closed his eyes and said, Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Cultivate well. I hope that you can help me block the intruders one day. Dao Comprehension Sword couldn't help but feel ashamed and didn't dare to ask further. From then on, the white-robed Buddha continued to walk the mortal world and impart his teachings. Han Ju still paid attention to prevent the white-robed Buddha from causing trouble. 30 years later, Han Ju sensed something and opened his eyes. He took out the Heavenly Dao token, it burned and shook in his hands. Chapter 229 Golden Age of the Mortal World, Delusional Evil Eye. What's happening? Han Ju frowned and probed the Heavenly Dao token with his divine sense. Fortunately, his cultivation level was high enough. This heat did not affect him. Soon, Han Ju's divine sense arrived in front of the Heavenly Dao tablet. He checked and was shocked. No. 763. The ranking was still rising. What happened? Han Ju hurriedly observed the Scarlet Cloud world. The number of body integration and tribulation transcendence realm cultivators had increased exponentially over the years. Mahayana realm cultivators were also continuously emerging. Not long after, Han Ju caught sight of the white-robed Buddha. This fellow was preaching to thousands of cultivators on a tall mountain. These cultivators were at least at the body integration realm, and some people broke through one after another. Not only that, but cultivators also rushed over to listen. No wonder the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world had increased so quickly. As the providence of the world continued to increase, Han Ju clearly felt that his providence was also increasing. D. Tai Bai had said that to break through to the Immortal Emperor realm, one needed a powerful providence. Isn't providence here already, Han? Ju felt the distress of happiness. On one hand, he was afraid that the Scarlet Cloud world would attract attention, but on the other hand, he enjoyed the increase in providence. Forget it, he would cultivate first. Han Ju put down the Heavenly Dao token and continued cultivating, was getting closer and closer to the late stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. After reaching the late stage, he would be closer to perfection. He reached the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm. Would the Immortal Emperor realm be far away? After reaching the Immortal Emperor realm, wouldn't he be close to the deity realm? Was reaching the deity realm still a dream? Hanju thought about it and became excited, was full of fighting spirit. When Hanju was still cultivating, the heaven and earth spirit chi increased with the providence of the heavenly Tao. Everyone was celebrating. This wasn't the first time the providence of the world had increased greatly. The mighty figures of the Holy Lands declared that this was the grace of the heavenly Tao. An unprecedented golden age had arrived. Almost every few years, a prodigy would appear, each with their own style. The demonic path had declined, and the cultivation world welcomed an era where sects competed. There was no competition for morality, only strength. The Jade Pure Sacred sect was relatively peaceful. No sect dared to provoke them. The white-robed Buddha preached to the world and also gained a reputation. Many temples and statues of the white-robed Buddha even emerged among the people. While enjoying the offerings of the mortal world, the white-robed Buddha's providence was constantly increasing. 28 years later, 3 lines of words appeared in front of Hanju, who was cultivating. Detected that you are 2,000 years old and your life has taken another step forward. You have the following choices. 1. Immediately ascend and become famous in the immortal world. You can obtain a heavenly Tao spirit stone, a mystical power inheritance, and a supreme treasure. 2. Don't ascend for the time being. Follow your Tao heart. You can obtain a mystical power inheritance and a great Tao fragment. Hanju opened his eyes and was curious. What was a great Tao fragment? He immediately chose not to ascend. You chose not to ascend for the time being. You obtained a mystical power inheritance and a great Tao fragment. Congratulations on obtaining mystical power. 5 elements divine light. 5 elements divine light, ancient mystical power with extremely strong attack power. It can forcefully snatch the enemy's Dharma treasure and forcefully break through the array formation. Congratulations on obtaining the Great Tao Fragment. Great Tao Fragment. After gathering 9 Great Tao Fragments, you will sense the Great Tao and obtain a Supreme Tao Technique. Supreme Tao Technique. It sounded impressive, but it was useless now. The system was indeed modeled after a game as its foundation. It was quite grindy, Hanju thought silently and chose to inherit the 5 elements divine light. The 5 elements divine light wasn't a sword Tao mystical power. Thus, it took Hanju several days to master it. This mystical power was indeed powerful. Hanju activated the simulation trial and used the 5 elements divine light to fight the white-robed Buddha. Although he couldn't kill the enemy instantly, with this mystical power, he could easily kill the white-robed Buddha. It's too powerful. Hanju was very excited. He liked such straightforward mystical powers. Although his talent in the sword Tao was outstanding, he didn't love the sword he had obtained. That aptitude after re-rolling, but it wasn't the one he wanted. In order to celebrate obtaining this mystical power, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies. He checked his emails. Nothing happened. After Mo Zhu and Mo Fuzhou ascended, everything went smoothly. They weren't attacked. Under the sea of clouds, a lone mountain peak floated in the sky. At the top of the mountain was a huge building without a ceiling. The walls were surrounded in a circle, like a beast fighting arena. Huge and sinister stone statues were erected on all sides. There was a huge stone tablet erected in the square, with a half-naked man tied to it. It was Feng Liang. Feng Liang's hair was disheveled and he was covered in injuries. On the steps at the edge of the square stood cultivators, all of them looking nervous and waiting. On the high wall to the east was a pavilion. In front of the balcony sat a middle-aged man dressed in expensive-looking clothes. His eyes were sharp. I wonder if he can succeed, a yellow-dressed girl beside the middle-aged man muttered, looking at Feng Liang with worry. The middle-aged man snorted. He was chosen by our ancestor. He naturally won't fail. However, we still have to spend the effort to make him submit to us. Exeoner, are you willing to marry him? Hearing this, the girl in yellow blushed and nodded shyly. The middle-aged man looked down at Feng Liang expressionlessly. Where did this kid come from? He can actually withstand our ancestors' divine power. The middle-aged man was secretly shocked. He looked at Feng Liang with jealousy. Although he was jealous, he knew that he had to please Feng Liang in the future. He would be the hope of their race's revival. Tied to the stone tablet, Feng Liang suddenly let out a shrill roar like a ferocious beast, scaring everyone on the steps. Feng Liang suddenly raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot, and a vertical eye appeared on his forehead. It was a strange dual pupil EYE. It had been 10 years since he had learned the 5 elements divine light. Hanju suddenly felt Di Taibai's divine sense fluctuation from the heavenly Tao token and immediately took it out. Your grand disciple Feng Liang has gone missing, Di Taibai said. Hanju frowned and asked, caught by the demon court? Wasn't Feng Liang enlightened by a mighty figure? He thought that a mighty figure of the heavenly court had taken him in. No, he went out to train. He has already left for decades. It has exceeded the time limit he promised to return. I asked the 2 clairvoyants to investigate, but they couldn't find his whereabouts, Di Taibai said helplessly. Hanju's grand disciples were troublesome. Morong Qi also left with the divine general as soon as he entered the heavenly court. Hanju asked, even the heavenly emperor can't find him? The world is vast, we can't tell unless the providence of the heavenly court is involved. Alright, I understand. Thank you for your trouble. He's the son of Providence. Even in the immortal world, his providence won't be bad. Perhaps the heavens will help him out. After ending the contact, Hanju started to check his interpersonal relationships. Feng Liang's portrait was still there. He continued to check his emails and quickly found Feng Liang's status. Your grand disciple Feng Liang inherited the delusional evil eye and successfully entered the Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm. Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm, TSK, he was really fast. Hanju was relieved. It seemed that Feng Liang was fine and had obtained a huge opportunity. It was useless to worry. He couldn't go to the immortal world to find him. At the critical moment, Feng Liang could still use the invocation technique to invite him over. Chapter 230 Late Stage Reincarnation Golden Immortal Realm, Great Plan of Divine Investiture. Time passed like a white horse passing through a chasm, never to return again. 100 years passed in a flash. Hanju finally broke through to the late stage of the reincarnation Golden Immortal Realm. His dermic powers surged and his divine sense increased. Hanju's comprehension of heaven and earth deepened. Even in the mortal world, there were many invisible powers, for example, providence, karma, fate, and so on. Compared to these, the power of the law of the 5 elements was considered low tier. After breaking through, Hanju spent nearly half a year raising his sword Dao mystical powers. He began the simulation trial. He killed Jiang Yi instantly. The white-robed Buddha was also an instant kill. Against the heavenly emperor, Hanju was insta-killed. The other enemies he had encountered were almost all insta-killed. Awesome. For the time being, he didn't encounter any evenly matched enemies. Then, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies while checking his emails. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was attacked by demons, X14002. Your grand disciple Morong Qi has obtained a divine armament of the war god. His providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Imo Fuzhou has joined the Providence Holy Dynasty and his providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by a mighty figure and was severely injured. Your disciple Su Qi was attacked by the Azura race and was severely injured. Your good friend Long Shan was attacked by a demon saint and fell into the dark forbidden zone. Your good friend Qi Yunxian was attacked by a demon saint and died. Hanju frowned. Qi Yunxian was actually dead. Qi Yunxian had helped him greatly. Before the heavenly court cleaned up the mortal world, he had provided information many times and was even willing to rope him in. Although there was no substantial help, the favor was still there. Hanju noted this down. He planned on avenging him. Several months later, the curse ended. Hanju took out the heavenly Dao token and contacted Di Taibai, asking who had killed Qi Yunxian, the evil Wyrm king of the demon court. Not only is Qi Yunxian dead, but his highness Long Shan is also missing. The damned demon court really can't rest for a moment. Di Taibai replied through gritted teeth. Because of this matter, his head was about to explode. He had to deal with the heavenly emperor's anger and appease the gods of the heavenly court. Evil Wyrm king. Hanju remembered this name. Is the heavenly court going to be in chaos again? Hanju asked. Deities replied, not really. There will always be friction. Hanju was relieved after hearing that. If the heavenly court wasn't in chaos, he could cultivate in peace. Has the heavenly court been cleaned up? Hanju asked curiously. He noticed that some icons in his interpersonal relationships had disappeared. They didn't appear in the emails because he didn't add any special attention to them. It's about time. His Majesty is swift and decisive. The current heavenly court has already formed an iron plate. His Majesty is still preparing to carry out the great divine investiture plan and select immortal gods from the myriad worlds. Deities smiled. He was very excited at the mention of this. The heavenly court was about to rise. The great divine investiture plan. Hanju smelled the aura of the investiture of the gods. The Scarlet Cloud world will also participate? Hanju asked. That's right. You can also prepare and nurture some prodigies. The Scarlet Cloud world's current ranking is not bad. Forget it. I'm afraid of trouble. If they are fated, they can rely on themselves. Fine. The two of them stopped talking and ended the conversation. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the evil Wyrm king. On the other side, inside the numinous palace. Deities looked at the high and mighty heavenly emperor. Beside him stood a handsome purple-robed man. Your Majesty, he really doesn't have any ambition at all. We helped the Scarlet Cloud world improve in rankings so much, but he still isn't willing to fight for it, Deities said helplessly. The reason why he revealed the great divine investiture plan was because of the Heavenly Emperor's instructions. The Heavenly Emperor smiled. It's fine. He'll participate. The purple-robed man asked curiously, Father, is that the strongest genius in the heavenly court in the past 1,000 years? Yes, you can go visit Howard when you're free. The purple-robed man responded as if he didn't like long how. Deities asked, Your Majesty, there's something wrong with Marshal Shinpeng's body recently. You have to be careful. I understand. It looks like the GS school really won't give up. More and more of their disciples have appeared in the immortal world. I guess it won't be long before they take action. The GS school is the same as the Magus race. Their Providence has run out. It's impossible for them to kill their way back. Send some immortals to keep an eye on them. Yes. Hanju cursed the evil Wyrm king for 10 days in one go, causing his lifespan to decrease by hundreds of years. It was considered a huge loss. Hanju thought silently, Brother Chi Yunxian, I've tried my best. I'll try to deal with your enemy in the future. If we have the chance to meet, I'll definitely kill him. He only felt a little emotional about Chi Yunxian's death and was not that sad, didn't have a close relationship with Chi Yunxian. Ever since he had been promoted, the two of them had not interacted. Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and looked at Dao Comprehension's sword. You've already learned the second level of the Heavenly Sword, Dao? Dao Comprehension's sword nodded. She looked calm, but her eyes were smiling. Come here, I'll teach you the third level. Hanju patted the bed beside him. Dao Comprehension's sword immediately walked over. Several days later, Dao Comprehension's sword began to comprehend the third level of the Heavenly Sword. Dao, Hanju came to the Nine Heavens Galaxy water. Li Yao was still very far from the Scarlet Cloud world, but she had already reached the immortal world. After arriving in the immortal world, she found a place to hide and cultivate. However, not long after, she encountered an invasion by a demon king. She killed the demon king and was hunted down by the demon saint above the demon king. Thus, she left again. Li Yao's encounter made Hanju even more glad. The living beings in the immortal world were even more violent than those in the mortal world. They wanted to fight and kill at the slightest disagreement. They wanted to hunt her down to the ends of the world. It was too unsuitable for cultivation. Hanju sent her a voice transmission. Are you all right? It had been a long time since she heard Hanju's voice. Li Yao actually felt a little sad now. She suppressed her excitement and said, Senior, I'm fine. After experiencing countless tribulations, The Scarlet Cloud world had become her only hope, thought a place where she could stay away from trouble and cultivate in peace was the paradise she yearned for. Hanju said, "You can join the heavenly court and find a way to meet Deitai Bai. Let him send you to the Scarlet Cloud world. Tell him that I invited you." Li Yao was really too slow at the rate she was traveling. Li Yao asked, "Senior, what's your name?" Hanju. "Thank you, Senior. I'll definitely join the heavenly court as soon as possible." After knowing that Hanju was related to the heavenly court, Li Yao was even more certain that he wasn't lying to her. In the eyes of mortals, immortals were still very trustworthy. Hanju didn't say anything else. He severed his divine sense and returned to the bed to cultivate. 7 years later, the white-robed Buddha came again. This time, he didn't barge in forcefully but sent a voice transmission to Hanju above the clouds. "Fellow Taoist Sun Quan, would you like to come out for a chat?" the white-robed Buddha asked respectfully. Hanju asked with a voice transmission, "Why?" "Regarding the Great Divine Investiture Plan, I have already selected 100 prodigies. They're worth nurturing. You can take a look." Hanju felt a headache. It was definitely the Heavenly Emperor's arrangement. If the Heavenly Tao Buddha knew that his subordinate was working for the enemy, he would probably vomit blood.